Slavery, the system. I plant the fields, they rape the women. Fighting for my freedom, label the villain. Just to keep me down, so they brought you in. Treat you like an outcast, paid you pennies. Divide and conquer, we made enemies. Cascading candles, a little too many. We need new writers, tell me, is there any? Change the story. Change the story. Change it if we like it. Change the story. It's a new order. Change the story. The future is ours, yeah. Last night me go feel look a bread. This morning them find me dead. That's the way life goes. That's the way the story goes. Yesterday the village full of joy. Today all the hard man a cry. That's the way life should go. My generation.
What if we can wake up every day feeling like a newborn baby? Nothing to fear, nothing to worry about. Like all the distress, trauma, and pain we have been through in our life, and a relationship no longer exists. That's why Pastor Tito Paul, Pastor Leslie Dundas, and Pastor Joseph Prasad come together every Wednesday at 6 to 7 p.m. here on 96.1 Voice FM to help you uncover so you can exploit the power within yourself to get over and done with whatever is holding you back and start living in full control once again.
Praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, New York, good afternoon, New Jersey, good afternoon, Philadelphia, good afternoon, Connecticut, and good afternoon to all the folks around the world in Radioland. We want to say good afternoon to those of you on RTH 2000 Radio. We want to say a special good afternoon to those of you that are locked into Caribbean. Yes, we want to welcome all of the jammers to the Kingdom Empowerment Guyana broadcast. We want to welcome all of you on the various platforms that you're locked into. Those of you on social media, Facebook, YouTube, we want to thank God for each and every one of you. Like always, we want to say go ahead right now, hit the share button, invite your neighbor, invite your friend, tweet them, Facebook them, text them, and let them know that Kingdom Empowerment Guyana is live and direct on the air. Amen. We're here to inspire you. We're here to encourage you. We're here to focus on the family. Kingdom Empowerment Guyana is focused on various topics as it relates to family. We talk about marriage. We talk about fatherhood. We talk about motherhood. We talk about finances. We talk about teen pregnancy. We talk about spanking. Whatever topic you think it is, that you want us to have a discussion about, you can inbox us and say, Pastor Paul, we want you to have this discussion. We want to know what you are thinking. And so we have a number that you can call us and, let us know what you're thinking. 973-272-4200. That's 973 272-4200, 973-272-4200, where you can call in with any question that you have during the conversation when we're debating, when we're having this conversation. You can call in with whatever question you may have, and we will be able to answer it. We have professional people with great experience on the panel. We have Dr. Yvonne Bennett, amen. She is live here with us. And we have also Dr. Yvonne Bennett is a clinical therapist and marriage counselor. We have Dr. Eon Grief, very, very experienced, a man of years of experience and wisdom, great wisdom in counseling. And we also have Lady V, amen. And she also have a vast wealth of experience that you can tap into this afternoon. So, and maybe you're listening and you have also, you may have also some experience and you want to call in and give your input. Guess what? Feel free to do so, because we want to hear from you. We want to know what you are thinking. We want you to partake in what we are doing here today. Today, we want to focus in on teenage pregnancy. We want to focus a lot on that. I know a lot of you have questions as it relates to teens and pregnancy. And one of the questions we want to ask you today, if your child gives birth as a teenager, and do you feel that you should be responsible for taking care of them? Should you be responsible for babysitting? Should you be responsible for taking care of all the financial needs? What role do you think you should play as a parent? I know for the first time, sometime when a young lady give birth, when we have our children give birth, and one of the things that we first do, we felt this form of disappointment. We get very very disappointed, and some, especially if you're from the Caribbean, sometimes we want to kick them out of the house, and because we embarrassed. Sometimes it have nothing to do with the kid, but it's just because we are embarrassed, and they're messing up with our name. Especially, can you imagine being a pastor, being someone of prominence in the society? I mean, the people look down upon you, people frown upon you, and so you, coming from where we coming from and dealing maybe from Africa and certain places, we really take certain things. The parents take certain things very, 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 very strong, and so they may disapprove of that. So, but the main point I want to discuss today, with the panel: should parents be responsible for taking care of their own, of their grandchildren? And I want to start off with Lady V.
Well, this is a difficult topic for me because honestly, my heart goes out to parents who are confronted with this. But I believe that if your child is a teenager, there will be a certain amount of responsibility, but at the same time, I think that you have to allow that teenager to feel the pressure as well. You can't take on the full responsibility because it is not your responsibility. It's to get them to become responsible and taking care of their responsibility. So I believe as a parent, I can help. I can help support, but it's to transition you into being the full supporter of your child.
Mm.
Mm.
We have someone, Terry Shidless Jackson, say, of course, if our child is underage and as a baby, we have to support the parents and help them grow to continue education and parents. Okay, that's agreeable. Dr. Yvonne, what is your input on this?
Well, when a child, and greetings to everyone. When a child, the child should get pregnant and they're in your household, a young child, you can't uh, kick them to the curb, so to speak. But along with what Lady V has said, you have to teach them, and you have to give them uh, boundaries, because a lot of children today, they do, you know, get pregnant and they want to drop the baby on the parent and go out and have fun. No, you have given up your freedom.
Mhm.
So you have to, I'm going to draw the line for you. And I think that's what a lot of parents need to do. They need to make help that child and see to it that that child becomes accountable for their actions. I'm going to roll out a yellow brick road for you. You're going to go to school. I'm going to help you. We're not going to abort. We're not going to put this child away when this child comes. But when you come from school, you are going to have to be responsible for making this child's meals. You're going to have to be responsible for washing this child's clothes. You're going to have to be responsible for doing your homework and sitting up. There is no such thing as tired, because if you think you are tired, what do you think I would be? So you have to take responsibility for your decision. And I think along those lines, it will plant a seed within a child not to do it again. Because you have children today, they're getting pregnant 2, 3, and 4 and 5 times, and the parents, the grandparents, are raising these children, and
Mhm.
grandparents are dying young. They are suffering from heart failure. They're suffering from high blood pressure. Not so. I'm a different type of grandmother. Okay, I am the grandmother, not the mother. So you just like I raise my children, you have to raise yours.
So pretty much what you're saying, we have to give them the responsibility
Yes,
making, since you made a grown decision to go and
yes.
pregnant, because the truth of the matter is, being a teenager and getting pregnant at a very early age is very 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 difficult. and it is something some young women are very traumatized over, especially when you don't have the support of your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Having to deal when the parents is looking at you with a form of disappointment, because sometimes we feel like we disappoint our parents, we let them down, and then our parents also is looking at us with disappointment. And there are so many things that you have a boyfriend that get you pregnant. He's also immature. He's not ready for fatherhood. And so from the time you tell him that you're pregnant, he asks you how you get pregnant, like stuff like that. And he just disappear and gone. And so there is so much pressure, man of God, in dealing with such being a father. What advice do you have to give? What do you think? I know you're a very wonderful grandfather. I always see you, you're there with your grandkids, but be dealing with teenage. What is your input on that?
First of all, thank you so much again, Pastor Paul. Grace and peace be multiplied to you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. It's a wonderful, wonderful subject. I'm not as adequate as I should be to talk about teenage pregnancy, seeing that none of that has happened with me, thank God. My girls are 29 and one is married, 31, with two grandchildren. I have a son who is 33 and a young man who's 18, and I'm praying. However, but I say this all the time, things happen. We will come into situations whether we like it or not. Our children, even though we have given them all the rules, all the regulations, and we've tried to be the best father, grandfather, stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to stuff happening, we have to make sure that we are not becoming enablers
Mm-hmm.
after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I've seen is that, again, Pastor Paul mentioned something, and that can be one of the factors. We try to hide our pride and we try to protect our names and all of that. So we would do all kinds of craziness. We are not supposed to be parenting, even though we are parents.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when our children make the decisions they make, they decide a new season in their life. They have changed the game for you and for them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they have taken on something that is totally different from what it was last year. This year is different from last year. Last year, you were fine. This year, you were not. And then if you're a teenager, that makes it even more difficult. I think it was Pastor Dr. Yvonne that talked about, not taking on the role of mother, you're a grandmother
Mm-hmm.
and not mother, which means that you still have to take some kind of responsibility, but the whole load is not on me.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to use that moment, if that happens, as a teaching moment for that child. That will become another place for me to start mentoring, because I already know she ain't ready, he ain't ready for this responsibility.
Right.
So I would not reject and throw them out, but I would not let them feel comfortable in
Mm-hmm.
their wrongdoing.
That's right.
If I allow them to feel comfortable in their wrongdoing, bam, next year another one will show up. So if I try to keep the gates of hell closed, or whatever, that means I'm going to help you to make sure that that doesn't happen twice in one season. That as soon as this happens, we're going to have a different kind of conversation. And that conversation is that, okay, now your situation has changed. Your friends will change. Your whole life will change. Here are some different rules for you now. So now, as a parent, I'm going to let you know, okay, coming in late is not going to work anymore,
Mm-hmm.
especially if the child is born. Now, during the pregnancy, I guess, hey, it's difficult to say what we can do at that time. But when the child is born, everything, everything, including me, will change,
Mm-hmm.
because crying will start. I have been listening to you cry for 16 years. Hello. And I'm not in the mood
Yes.
to hear you cry and your child together. So
Mm-hmm.
something got to be muzzled here.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I can get this thing muzzled is that you, the mother, have to be around, or the father will have to be around to take your responsibility. So I'm going to train you through how to raise a child, being a child. At the same time, if you have a career, if you had something that you had to drop out, I'm going to make sure that you get back on track, and I'm going to give you some assistance, but I will not be carrying the whole load. No, sorry. And so I want to let parents know, don't feel bad for your child. When I say that, what I mean, don't come into the place where you are over sympathetic with them. Make sure that your sympathy has some balance, because they will play you again.
Yes.
That's good. That's
Well, I
good.
think that what happens is, and it's something that you said, it makes it comfortable for them. I can
Mm,
say, having my first child, I was not a teenager because
mm,
my parents made sure that they told me that that was not an option. But I did have my first child out of marriage. But I can tell you, I didn't go and have another child out of marriage because my parents didn't make it easy for me. I had to get up with the baby. I had to take care of the baby. I had to go to work. I had to take the bus. I had to, adjust my schedule. And it made it uncomfortable enough for me to where I was not wanting to do that again, especially getting up in the middle of the night. When you
mm,
get up in the middle of the night and you're a young person, you don't want to do that. You want to hang out with your friends. You want to go
mhm,
and there is no, if you as a parent, a grandparent, make it easy where you start babysitting and now you become the babysitter and now they're still going out. Well, first of all, they're taking away from your fun. You're supposed to be the person that's living free and having fun, not you making it where they continue to do that, because again, they made a decision that interfered with that. So if you allow your child to now say, "Oh, well, I want to go out with my friends. Well, I want to go out with my friends. I
Mhm.
want to go do this. Well, I want to do this." So you can't go out with your friends because you made an adult decision. And an adult decision, that means you have to feel some heat. You have to feel some pressure. You have to feel some discomfort, because if you don't, then I'm going to, and that's not right. That's not a fair deal.
Yes,
Well, I think too, out of all that has been said, is so true. But the responsibility of the parent is to educate the child before the child makes that decision. So you can say, I taught you, I shared with you, and so forth and so on. There are some parents, even today, that will tell their children, stay in a child's place. You're too young to know. No, no. If they're old enough to ask, they are old enough to get an answer.
Yeah.
So you have to answer these children. You have to talk to them, and you have to lay out that, whole gambit. Don't just sugarcoat it. Let them know. Well, and don't wait until they ask you. Watch a movie with them. Watch some of the movies with them. These young girls having babies and so forth and so on, and young men making babies. And one of the persons that's coming in says, we don't need to shame children. Well, no, we don't want to shame them, but we want to educate them so they don't bring shame upon themselves, because
Yeah.
it's easily done. They bring shame. Let's not talk about the family. I'm not worried about I never worried about my daughter getting pregnant and bringing shame to the family. That wasn't my concern. My concern was putting the heat on herself, knowing the responsibility that she would have to take on. That is education. So you have to sit down, you have to talk to your children, you have to lay it out, you have to let them know that this is what happens. You want to go to college, right? Yes, mommy. Yes, dad. Well, you won't be able to go if you have a hiccup. If you have a child here, you're going to have to wait some years before you go to college, because now you've made a decision to have this child in your life, and the child shouldn't suffer because of your decision. And you bring all that out to a child, and then they can't say they didn't know.
Okay, Dr. Yvonne, let me just say we all make mistakes, right? But
Yes.
let's chalk it up on, because we all have been taught, we all have been our parents teach a lot of us. Amen. They taught us, and many of us they taught us very well. However, we still go and do stupid stuff.
Yes,
Boy
yes.
meet girl, boy like girl, boy want to touch girl. Next thing you know, baby come, boy disappear. Like stuff like that. I'm the product of a teenager and pregnancy. My mom got me at the age of 16, right? And there was a lady in the village where we came out from that took my mother under the wings. God bless her. She just turned 100. She would have been 100. She passed away a few years ago, but she would have been 100 yesterday. But she took my mother under her wings, and she, she fed my mother, she nourished my mother, she encouraged my mother, she supported my mother, and I think my mother was very smart, and but without doing all of this is to take the pressure off so that my mother don't feel overwhelmed. And thank God that my mother did not went and abort the child, because she had no support from our
Hmm.
parents. She had no support. Matter of fact, the person that impregnated her gave her money to abort me. And I thank God, even at the age of 16, she made a decision to keep me. Can you imagine this world without the Pastor Paul? I you know I just couldn't imagine a world without myself. But she made a decision that she was going to keep her son, and I'm always so appreciative and always so grateful that she have done something like that. But when we're dealing with teenage pregnancy, they need a support system. It's a system, because every one of us, the Bible said, we all have sinned and have come short of the glory of God. I get a young lady pregnant a few years ago. In the church, get the pastor daughter pregnant when I was younger. And we were not teenager. We were pretty much in our adult stage. But I don't know what is it like to hear depart from me. I know you're not, right? I don't know what it's like, but it comes that close in the church. I felt so ashamed. I felt so isolated. The church folks really make me feel like extremely bad. They preach every sermon you think about concerning adultery, or fornication. I've heard all the topics in the book, but I would not leave the church. I was sitting there in the front of the church. I kept sitting there day in and day out, day in and day out, every service, and they would just preach to me, and I was feeling bad. But there was an old lady. She would come to me. She would say, "Keep your head up. This too shall pass. Keep your head up. This too shall pass." Right? And I could have walked out of the church based upon how they were treating me. People make it seem like baby come from the devil.
Mm,
Right? People make it seem the Bible says children are an heritage of the Lord, but yes, we messed up. Yes, we sin. Yes, we have done something wrong. But so I may have committed fornicate. I may be the one to fornicate, but you may be doing something else other than fornication.
mhm,
So as parents, sometimes we need to think of, well, this person did something wrong. Should I throw them to the wolf, or should I surround them with love? Many times when we mess up, God surrounds us with love. And what I've found
Yeah.
over the years, love covers a multitude of sin.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes. Yeah.
think that I totally agree. We don't ever want to shun someone. I know for me, being a young person and having a baby, especially with parents who were in ministry. I was a Christian. It was unheard of back then. I think that we're not saying let's shun, let's throw away, let's degrade. I think that there's a difference in that and responsibility. Because when we talk about responsibility, we teach our children as young as adolescents how to become responsible. When they are 3, when they are 4, when they are 5, we teach them how to pick up their toys. I'm not going to pick up your toys. You pick your toys up. Then, when they become adolescents, we teach them how to clean up their room and make their bed. I shouldn't have to make your bed. Now you're at the age where you can do that. Every single stage is about growth. So now, when we talk about you're a teenager, I have to hold you to a higher level of responsibility, just as God does us. He doesn't. He doesn't do a babe in Christ when you become older in the Lord. He expects more. He expects us to grow up. So if he gives us everything and pampers us and never allows us to feel some pressure, then we will never grow up in the things of God and become who he wants us to become. It's the same thing with our children. So now you're a teenager, but here's the thing. You're not going to always be a teenager. So now because you made this child, I'm not going to put you down. I'm not going to make you feel bad, but I'm still going to cause you to be responsible, because in the responsibility, you're now going to walk in your adulthood and be a wonderful parent. That's what we do. We don't want to enable you to give us the responsibility. I want to continue to help you grow so that when it is time for you to leave the nest, you take your child and you're able to be successful, not leave your child with me and bring more children.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I know this young lady, and her mother accept the first child, and then she went and get the second child, and then she went to make the third child, and she keep going out there and having fun and having a grand time when the day come and the mother is stuck with the kids. Well, I say the devil is a liar. I do understand. I mean, I'm saying the first one you make a mistake. I can see the first one. Right, let me just call it a mistake. You had bad judgment. You didn't make the you didn't really do the right thing. However, first one, you have all my support. I'm in. I make sure I look out for you. Do whatever I have to do because I already know you're feeling shame. You're feeling the pressures, everything that comes with teenage pregnancy. I believe we should do it. But the second time, I think you got to find a place to live. I think you need to go out there, find, and that's where I think you got to say, teach them. You have to start teaching them responsibility, guiding them to go back to school if they're in school, guiding them to establish a career or get a job at least, because you need it. Once you can get a child, you need a job. You need to start doing what you have to do to take care of your child.
Yes, and to piggyback off of some things that have already been said, Pastor Paul said something. The people in church made him feel so bad. These are the things you have to tell children. You are going to be confronted with people that's going to throw this in your face. I'm not going to be the one to do it. I am your parent and I love you and I want you to hold your head up, but I don't want you to go around condoning what you've done. I want you to accept the responsibility and know that it's not going to be easy because people are going to look down on you. And I am one. I wasn't a young teenager, but I was still a teenager. I got pregnant when I was 18 years old. And my mother, living in the house with my mother, the super spiritual, whatever you wanted to call her, she knew everything. My mother didn't even know I was pregnant. I was 2 months pregnant. I missed the cycle. And I said to my husband, whom I'm married to right now for 57 years, I said, you don't go to my dad's house and say I'm pregnant. You go to my dad's house and say I'm getting married. And my husband who was my boyfriend at the time, he was 20 and I was 18, and we got married. We produced a beautiful young lady who's right there in your face right now.
Hello.
And I knew for a fact that I was going to be criticized and ridiculed and called all kind of names. In fact, my mom would say to my sister that's 4 years younger than me, I don't want you to turn out like your sister. Well, this sister turned out to have a beautiful daughter. This sister turned out to be a very educated person all the way through to her PhD and didn't have baby after baby. So you see, you're going to get that criticism. You're going to get that roughness and called all kind of things. But it's up to the individual to know and to learn this one thing. I messed up. And you know what? I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to go on from here. Abortion entered my mind. Back then you didn't even know that sophisticated word. It was called getting rid of a child. Where do you go to get rid of a child? No, not doing that craziness. No, I carried full term and I produced a very beautiful young lady. So those of you that are listening that have children that have messed up, yes, lift their head up. Tell them to lift your head up, but warn them. You are going to be ridiculed. You're going to have to put on your big girl panties, and you're going to have to say, I messed up. I got to, because the people that were saying it to you in church, they're telling the truth. They are really telling the truth. You may not like the way they say it, but they're saying,
Right.
how could you do that? You hear the
Mm.
word, and they're telling the truth. But that's not what we do. But you have to warn them that you're going to get this. Because I got
Yeah.
it. I
And
got it.
My God. My
I
God.
want to say
Yeah.
that there's a
Go ahead.
difference though in a support system than there is in an enabler. My parents, I too again got pregnant before I got married. My parents supported me as far as they were there. They were a great support system until I got married. But they did not make it easy for me to go out and do it again. And I
Mm.
think that that's the difference. We all make mistakes. We do. We all go and we do things that is premature. That's not what I think we're saying. I believe that I when I look at my daughter, she's an awesome, beautiful young woman. She retires in a year and a half in the military, and I did well with her, but it was hard being a single mom. It really
Mm.
was. And so to have to do it again and again and again,
Mm.
it you will do that if you don't feel the pressure the first time. So I appreciated my parents and not allowing me to just go out and party and do things. Once I had that baby, I became a mom and life changed. It did.
Mm.
I couldn't
Mm.
go out to the club anymore. I couldn't go out like I wanted to anymore. I had to become a responsible mom and I had to take care of my child. And
Mm.
that support system was there, but they never enabled me to do it again.
Yeah,
Mm.
we do become enablers. We really do, because
Yep.
there are people that I know that have more than one. And Pastor Paul said something. He said, "You have one? Yes, I will help you. Yes, I'm there because I consider that a mess up, and we all have sinned and come short of the glory, falling short of the glory of God. But now you have another one. You got to get out and support. How you gonna put a 15-year-old out? you know, I adopted a boy. My husband and we adopted a boy at 8 weeks old, and Lamont is going to be 39. His mother was only 15. His dad was 17. His mom said, "You can't come here." The dad said, "You can't come here." The mom said, "You can't." We ended up adopting this young man, who is a beautiful young man. Yes, he has had his struggles. We've had to deal with the
Mm.
schizophrenia and the PTSD. He spent 6 years in the military, came out being a sergeant, but now he's married, has his own family. But God placed him among us so that we could nurture him. He don't have babies strolled all over the tri-state area. No, he don't. So we do have to support our children. We do. And my heart went out for that young girl. She's 15 years old. She was getting ready to put him in the system. She said, "No, he's going to go." And I said, "We'll take him if you change your mind." He was on his way to Division of Youth and Family Services. And she called me August 31st, 1982. She said, "If you still want him, here he is." And here comes this little bitty thing at 8 weeks old. And we had already had 2 children. But God is good. So children do mess up. And the sad part about it is, after he turned 10, his biological mother died in a car wreck. And I promised her that she would never be held, I would never hold her away from her son. And I didn't. That couple got married. They married after she graduated from high school. He came out of the military. They got married. They never had any more children, but she was killed in a car accident. And he was 10 years old.
Well,
My God, I look at that as the intervention of God right there without even blinking my eyes as I look at how God operates. 2 quick things, Pastor Paul, as we transition. One is the act is bad, the seed is not.
Yeah.
And that's what every parent must understand. The
That's right.
act is bad. Dr. Bennett said something, and it keeps playing in my head. You choose your behavior, you don't choose the consequence.
Right.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
means that consequence is waiting to happen as soon as you choose something. So that's very, very important. So the act might be bad. We don't condone it, but what we do, we make sure we let you know it was wrong.
Mhm.
But the child is a blessing. The
Yeah.
seed is a blessing because so many people doing all kinds of stuff to get a seed. We're not saying go out there and just get them, but I'm just saying there's so many people who can't, but you were able to. So that's a blessing in itself. The act was wrong, the seed is not. So do not condemn based on the seed. Just deal with the matter at hand because you're also speaking to a life that was just formed in there, and words have molding power. They can go directly to that seed and begin to form an opinion without you even knowing because it's going there. Secondly, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11 says this, based on what Dr. Bennett just said. It's hard, but it's the truth when the people point their fingers at you and say, you mess up,
Mm-hmm.
you're dirty, you're
Mm-hmm.
this, you're that. So it's the truth. It hurts,
Mm-hmm.
but it must be done in love.
Yes.
That's the key right there.
Yes.
Truth must be given to you in love. Let me just read verse number 11 and then I'll have you go to it. No discipline seems pleasant at the time.
Mm-hmm.
No pregnancy outside of marriage, outside of your particular perimeter when you are not supposed to be, seems pleasant at the time to nobody, from parent to children to family members. It don't seem pleasant. However, it's painful. Later on, however, it will produce a harvest of righteousness. What God is saying is that out of this mess up, you can have a big message coming down the line. Look at what Dr. Bennett said. I made a mistake, but look at what this mistake turned out to be,
Mm-hmm.
even if I call it a mistake at that time. Lady V.
Yeah.
And so Lady V now is a product of righteousness that has come as a result, even though the act was not what you wanted to be. It just happened. It happens. Things happen. But at the end of the day, it didn't feel right at the time. But we are not going to tell you go and just do something wrong again because two wrongs cannot make a right. You're
Right.
wrong, we correct it, we move on, but we give you some teaching there. And it says there, harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. That's where the teaching comes in. So it happens, it's painful, but then we use it as a teaching moment. Go right ahead, Pastor Paul.
Okay, let's deal with okay, so we're gonna transition out from that aspect of it. Let's deal with we can focus in on the psychological aspect of it, but before we get into the psychological aspect of it, there's a spirit also. As parents, we want to make sure the spirit of rejection, because sometimes when we're dealing with these kind of cases, we say stuff, right? We say a lot of stuff that can bring not realizing that the baby while it's in the stomach can hear, and there can be something called transformation of spirit, and we can sow the seed of rejection into that child when we saying all of these bad things are wrong, or the child is not or they're in an environment that is not happy. And a lot of us have these kids that are so dealing with all kind of various issues, and we don't understand why. And a lot of it have to do when the parents was the parents was pregnant with them, that a lot of stuff was spoken into the atmosphere, and a lot of the sadness of the mother, a lot of the environment in which she was in, that was able to cause that child to be acting the way, or sometimes, like for instance, a child is born and they want nothing to do with the father.
Mhm.
The father, I mean, I don't know if you ever experienced anything like that with any folks. They want nothing to do with his father, and the father have not done anything. While as we know, but the child want nothing, all because during birth he may have said some stuff, or maybe he would have treated the mother a certain way, and he want nothing to do now with the daddy. I'm saying to now let's transition, Dr. Yvonne. How do we deal with the spirit of rejection? Also, in addition to the psychological effect of teenage pregnancy.
And that's a good question, Pastor Tito Paul, because that's another thing that we have to bring out too. our young people, there's a psychological effect on a child getting pregnant when they're younger. I mean, at 18, I was a fully developed woman. Everything that was going to grow in me was already there. But we're talking about these young children. It's a psychological effect because they're really not ready to make those choices and to take on all that responsibility. And they become very bitter. They become angry. They feel rejected because I can't do what I would like to do with my friends. I can't hang out with my friends anymore. They can't process all of parenthood. They're too young. They're too young to process that. So psychologically speaking, it's a big thing. It takes on a psychological effect as well as the spirit of rejection, because when we give them the responsibility, when we tell them that boundaries are set, right away they feel that we are rejecting them and we're taking away their childhood. No, we didn't take it away. You gave it away. And we have to make sure in love that we get that over to them. And one of the things that's very important is to be close to them. This is the thing that children that get pregnant don't understand. It alters your life as a parent, because now you have to take energy into making more time for this child, more teaching, more gatherings, more social, more a lot of stuff, which takes away. And I've seen marriages break up because of it. Because mothers sometimes feel, well, I got to be with my daughter. I know she made a mistake, but I'm trying to keep her. You can't keep anybody from doing anything. When their mind is made up, their mind is made up. So as far as the rejection part, we have to let them know, I'm not rejecting you. In fact, you are my child and no one can take that away. But I cannot condone what has happened here. It's my responsibility as a parent to set boundaries and to teach you how to deal with the decision that you've made.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're in touch with Kingdom Empowerment. This is where we focus on families, and today we are discussing teenage pregnancy. You can give us a call 973-272-4200. That's 973-272-4200, 973-272-4200. So you can join the conversation. I want to big up all the folks on Caribbean Power Jam. They're locked in there and they're making a lot of comments on the chat room. So we want to personally thank each and every one of you for tuning in. If you have a question, feel free to give us a call, 973-272-4200, 973-272-4200. If you are international, you can call 718-679 3490. That's 718-675, in fact, 3940. You can call our WhatsApp number and you would be able to join the conversation. There's a lot of things that goes into teenage pregnancy. One being when you have a child from a teenage pregnancy, sometimes they say one of the statistics is that a child that bring forward a child in terms of they're more likely not to graduate high school, and there are so many different things that goes into that. But let's talk about the father effect on his daughter. A father, because we want to deal with the father, because fatherhood is very important in because we dealing with different aspect of teenage pregnancy. They said it's more likely for a young woman to or a child to give birth as a teenager when the father is not involved in the life of the child. And so we see in here once again, fatherhood is our father deal with his children, or a mother. In communication, we have to discuss these things. We have to talk about it. We have to talk about the consequences, because when you have conversation concerning certain things, it is more likely not to happen because it has been discussed. Not to say it's not going to happen, but it's more likely not to happen. So if it does happen, then we are saying to you today, we want to be able to support. We were going to talk today a little bit about kicking the kids out, but we already done that already. So we already agree we should be not we should not try to kick out the children, but we should try to embrace them. What about abortion? Because this is big on a teenage pregnancy, whereby when a teenager get pregnant, the first thing they want to do is to abort that child, and many kids are in the grave because of they have been aborted. And I make that statement just now. Can you imagine a world without Tito? And I always make that statement because I cannot imagine. I have touched so many lives over the years. I cannot imagine not being around. God had protect me. God have allowed my mother to, touch my mother's heart, to hang in there. And I'll tell you, my mother gave up a lot. When you are a teenager, you have to give up everything just to make sure you take care of your responsibility. It's not easy being a single mother. It's not easy being a teenager mother. Sometimes the privilege of going to school, there's so many things that you have to give up as a single mom or a teen mom. And so I always say to parents, based upon my experience, try your best to make sure we offer as much support. Try our best to offer as much guidance. We're not going to condone. I don't believe in condoning. I always said, give me one, maybe the first one, maybe. And because I give you my experience just now with that young lady when she got pregnant, and they didn't want nothing to do with me. I mean, they punished me, but by gosh, when they saw that baby, when they saw their grandchild, it's like nobody can stop them from, like they just was in love with the grandchild, and they pour out so much love. They were so loving after the fact. And so that's what a child would bring into your life. He would bring hope. He would bring joy. And, so pretty much what I'm saying, Lady D, Dr. Yvonne and others, let us support them. What else do we take as some of the psychological issue, if you had to think of one, Lady V, that can...
I think that it definitely interferes with your self worth. We tend to, when we have a child, especially when there's not an active father involved, on the partner that you've gotten pregnant with, you tend to lose your value system. I know I did. No matter how supportive my parents was, it devalued me. It made me feel like I wasn't really worth what I thought I was before I had the child. It took my parents to constantly remind me of who I was, because a lot of times when you have a baby and then that dad leaves, it makes you feel bad. It makes you feel unwanted. It makes you feel different because you've now had a baby, and like Dr. Bennett said, people are talking and they're looking at you and you feel like you're shamed. So it definitely plays a large part on your value system, which, I have to say, you also have to be careful then who you bring into your child's life. Because that's a big importance too, because if you don't value who you are, then the person that you bring in, you may settle for someone, and that person may not be loving and kind to your child. So you want to make sure that you remind your teenager, remind your young adult child that they are valued. They haven't lost their value system because they had a child out of wedlock, that they're still valuable. They're still who God says that they are. So they don't bring someone in that's going to cause more pain than pleasure to their lives, and that's going to abuse their child, because now you're making your child feel like they weren't wanted, that they were a mistake. And we don't ever want children to feel like they are a mistake. We want them to feel like they are loved.
Yeah, one thing I would like to say is, I think in this day and time, we talk about the girl. We always allude to the girl that gets pregnant. But I think that responsibility should also be given to that boy. I mean, I think those parents need to hook up. I think that boy needs to have some time to come over and help wash diapers or take care of diapers or whatever, and whatever he has to do. after school, you take on a little job, or you're a teenager, but you make money to do anything else. So you make money so you can buy some Pampers and some formula. We have to not, we shouldn't have double standards. We shouldn't just leave it on the girl, that boy, so he won't be so ready to go out and make another child.
Mm.
Wow. Two things running through my mind here. One is the two D's I called it. I call it dialogue and distancing. Distancing is what Dr. Bennett just talked about, where we literally bring rejection to the girl or to that house or to that child by distancing the boy from them. And definitely what Dr. Bennett said, I agree with. Get him on board. You're already on board. Hey, you already made the move. This is your seed.
Yeah.
Come on board. This is how we do it up in here. Okay, she wash and you dry. And we watch them grow together. And in that way, we helping them. The next thing is dialogue. The dialogue is how the parent of both individuals will talk to each individual about the case. Don't take the case because it's one incident in their life. I'm not saying that it might be the only one, but in this case, we're talking about the teenage pregnancy. Do not use that one thing to hammer that brother or that daughter or that son to the ground by repeating to them how wrong they are.
That's right.
And that's what happened with the dialogue. We got to be very, very careful with our words and how we phrase our words, what we say to them. Mike, I said I never had that kind of situation happen to me, so I'm not as qualified as those who may have had that. But with my children, all of them, I equally had them on my lap night and day. I put them to sleep, changed their pampers. In those days that we didn't have pampers, we had cloth.
Yep.
That means we had to shake the stuff out. And I had no problem. I was the one who used to shake the stuff out, wash it, put it on the line, everything. I used to go out there, hang my stuff up. People used to look at brother. But it's not that. I just felt this is my seed, it's my responsibility to make sure that this happens. So all my children, girls, I would have them on my lap right there when they were small enough to fit between the end of the knee to the stomach. I had them right there and I would shake them and sing to them and minister to them right there, because I realized that if I dialogue with them properly now, speaking into them, when they get to a certain age, they will never forget those words. But if I keep calling them names from the time they have a mistake, then they believe, like you said, they are mistakes all the way. So you have two mistakes. They're the mistake, and the child that they just got is another mistake. So they see double jeopardy. Oh, I'm just a failure.
Yeah.
And so they begin to walk through life as a failure. But we have to make sure we don't distance the child from the child. In other words, these two young people are children still. Bring them back together because they came together. They know what it is to get together. So bring them back together. We can't undo that. It's already done. Bring them together. Begin to engage them. Let them see how mother and father operates in a house. There are times when you and husband, you and wife might be in the kitchen and they're there at the same time. They're watching. They can learn to see how you guys interact. And in doing that, they now learn how to behave as they are raising the child. You're not taking their responsibility, but you're showing them subtly an example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with Elon, because we know that children have a problem if they have to raise children. Children can't raise children. But now you've taken another step. And so we want to make sure that you don't do it again. So if we just don't teach you anything and don't let you go through anything, you'll think that it's just a piece of cake. And some of us have done that. It wasn't easy for me. I mean, I got married. I was 2 months pregnant, got married, end of story. End of story. To the man that I'm married to right now. That don't happen to everybody, but it happened to my husband and I. But I knew right away that I was going to get married. And he being my boyfriend, we knew, okay, that's the right thing to do. He was just that kind of a person, and I was that kind of a person. And we did it. So yes, we were young. We didn't know anything about we were 18 and 20. Yeah, we were still young. We were still kids. Hadn't done anything, hadn't been anywhere, but we learned together. Together.
And I think that too, holding your sons accountable. A lot of times we let the sons off the hook. You know,
Yes.
my son, he got someone pregnant, and he's responsible. You know, it's his child. I encouraged him when he got her pregnant. You are now a father. You have to take care of your responsibility. We can't let our sons off the hook, because a lot of times the pressure goes on just the girl, but there's another parent involved in this. So,
Right.
you know, when you bring them both together, now it takes a lot of the pressure off of the girl or the young woman, and both of them can work together. They may not stay together and get married, but they need to learn how to co-parent. That's the thing. They need to learn how to co-parent, because she did not get pregnant on her own, and that's the person that we should be reaching out to help out, not the parents, but the other parent, because there's another parent involved.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, before we continue, that's a good thing. What now? Should someone be forced to be married because of a pregnancy? Because what we have noticed over the years, people end up getting married all because they get pregnant. Only to cause a disaster of their life. So should we encourage our children to get married to that individual because of pregnancy, or what should we do?
I
Exactly.
think, I think that's a very bad move, because there's a difference between two people hooking up, getting pregnant, and being ready for marriage.
Mhm.
There's a big difference. You can have a support system if two people slip up and they see the child and they have a support system. But when you get married, that's a whole nother ball game. A lot of stuff you're going to have to do on your own and learn on your own. In my case, we didn't rely upon our parents. My husband didn't even have a job. He was 20 years old. He was from Alabama, visiting his father from New Jersey, that lived right next door to my parents. That's how we got hooked up. I've known him since I was 13 and he was 15. He used to come up every summer, and I would be hanging the clothes out on the line, and he would be looking over the fence at me. And here we are now, 18 and 20. We go to the movies, and one day we decide to do something else, and I got pregnant. So I wasn't forced. I didn't feel like I was forced to get married. But I said to him, in my house, we don't go to my dad and say, I'm pregnant. I say, Dad, I'm getting married. And he said, yes, his father signed for him, and that was it. But I don't think you should force young people to get married just because somebody's pregnant. No, that's not the answer.
Dr. Young, go ahead, Dr. Young. You muted. Yes, Dr. Young is.
You're muted, Dr. Elon. Yeah.
Sorry. No. I have seen so many breakups, families went crazy, all kinds of stuff happened because it was forced. And most of the times it's forced because the parent is trying to cover their tracks.
Yes.
And they want to look good. And it's nothing to do with the children. It's really to do with the parent saying, you have to do this and it's the God's way, and they give you all the scriptures. No. Unless the two people say, you know what, we know what we did.
Mm-hmm.
We are responsible enough. I understand this, and I love this girl, and this girl says, I love this guy. We have a chemistry going on. I don't have a problem.
Right.
But if we have to make them do it, it will not work. It will be just a facade. And it will be worse for everybody in that group.
Yes.
So I would say no, don't take them to past Dr. Bennett. So Dr. Bennett could show them what side. Sorry, I was going to use the term she used. Your panties are big enough now, so understand what you're dealing with. It's a big situation. So take them there so that they can have the right counsel, and maybe somehow Dr. Bennett is able now to steer them in the right direction to know if this is for you or not. It is not a good thing to do. Like
Yeah,
she said, a wrong move. Go ahead.
yeah. What about, like some back in the days, they would send, you just see that next door neighbor child has disappear, and they come back a couple months, another year or so after, and some child calling them auntie, right? We like they get pregnant, and the parents just send the kid away to some family member way back in the country or some area there,
Mm.
and when they come back, Dr. Yvonne, the kid some kid will be calling them auntie something something something, and so you will be living with the child. You already know you're the auntie, but not knowing that you
You're
are
a
the
parent.
that you are the parent. And so
Parent.
there was a lot of cover up going on. I don't know if it still happened, but back in the days, we had a lot of cover up because of the shame that parents felt when a young teenager get pregnant. But as I always said, the devil don't make babies. The Bible said children are an heritage of the Lord. Children are a blessing from God, and it's amazing the stone that the builder reject. Sometime when that person become like prominent in society, sometimes they're the most they're the most successful. Like there's so many things that can turn around for that individual that have been rejected. I encourage you, in spite of how difficult it is as a teenager, hang in there, right? Hang in there. Work hard, support your child, take care of your child, and I promise you, things are going to get better as you hang in there. Because what I've learned over the years, kids are not so much interested about how much money you can spend on them. What they're interested in is how much time you can spend with them and how much you love them. And I must say to you, teenager, if you have a teenage pregnancy and you're feeling neglected and rejected, things are going to turn around. Just hang in there with your child. Closing word, Dr. Yvonne.
My closing words would be: there may be a time where there is an aunt that is alone or can make provision, and if that door is open, it's okay,
Yeah.
because once again, it happened to me. My she was only 15, and I always wanted a son. I birthed two girls, and I wanted a son. I didn't know how he was going to come, but that's the way he came, and I raised this woman's son, and I'm so glad I did. So sometimes that door is open for someone else to raise your child. Don't shut that door. Let that person do it, and make sure that you go through everything as far as, will I be able to see my child, and so forth and so on. So if that door is open for someone to raise your child, parents, don't shut that door for your child. Let your child make that decision.
Amen.
Dr. Young.
Again, it may be painful at the top, but it's going to work out for your good. Hang in there.
Mhm.
Lady V.
Same thing, love your child. Let's continue to be a support to our young people. But sometimes tough love is good love,
Mhm.
but children are not a mistake. So when they come, they're a blessing from God, and however they got here. And it's our responsibility to make sure that we love on them and encourage them so that they can be the best that they can be.
That's right. That's right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to say thank you for tuning in to Kingdom Empowerment. I'm your host, Pastor Tito Paul, and I want to thank Dr. Yvonne Bennett, my co-host, Dr. Eon Grieve, Lady V, and all of our awesome panel. We want to say personally thank each and every one of you. Don't forget to tune in next Wednesday for Kingdom Empowerment, exactly at 5 p.m. sharp. At 5 p.m. sharp every Wednesday. But prior to that, we have every Wednesday. Um, I don't know why I was forgetting. Lady V,
Breaking the silence. You
breaking
have a voice.
breaking the silence at 4
You
o'clock.
have a voice.
Amen. Breaking the silence. You have a voice. Breaking the silence with Dr. Yvonne Bennett and Lady V. They had a great program this afternoon. A very packed panel. Breaking the silence. You have a voice. So here's where you can come every Wednesday and you can find out different things concerning your life. If you have questions and you want answers, we have some professional people with years of experience, a vast wealth of experience that will be able to teach you, encourage you, and to pray with you, to counsel you, whatever it is that you need. They're here to help you free out. So don't feel shy in calling us. You can call us 973-272-4200. I want to say tata to each and every one of you, and thank you for joining the Kingdom Empowerment. I want to say God bless all of you on Caribbean Power Jam, RTH 2000 Radio, all the folks on YouTube and Periscope. We say God bless each and every one of you. Tata, and you can change the story.
Hey,
Shalom.
thanks for listening. As always, our goal is to help you exploit the power within yourself so you can be in total control of your life and be happy. If you find this to be helpful, kindly